there's a new version of Apple iOS coming out with some new security features.
So John, sounds like we've got a new version of iOS coming out, and hopefully with that, a few new interesting security features have been implemented. Can you tell us a bit about it?
Sure, yeah. This is the week of the Apple event that occurs, annually. And one of the things that we do expect to come out of this event is the announcement of a release date for Apple iOS 12. And Apple's even published some of the security improvements/enhancements that they are going to provide in this release. So Apple is really working hard on the password integration such that you first off have stronger prevention of reuse. You have better complexity rules, so it'll identify, when you maybe have a little lighter complexity of that password. And the thing that I'm probably the most excited about, just from a personal perspective, is that SMS Password Refill. So if you get a text that says, "Hey, here's this code," and it's the same device, it will automatically populate that. So there's a lot of integration, with all those tools into how passwords get managed.
It takes a lot of the cumbersome parts, the worst parts about passwords, and simplifies it. And I think that's a great thing.
The other thing I know that they're doing in this release, I think that's kind of neat, is trying to reduce and control what you share. From those tracking, cookie, whether it be cookies, whether it be settings, whether it be, an identifying code, whatever, you're going to have that control more and more of how they know who's connecting to a website.
So these these companies that put out these trackers, once someone, whether it's Apple or Google, put something in to block their ability to track, they're constantly trying to find other ways to do it, right? Yep. So I think in this case, the workaround was that they would put a tracker in in the share button on a website. So the website itself doesn't have it, but the share button has
and
the
anytime
tracker.
you make a request,
right?
All the cookies are loaded, so the server knows this user did this thing.
So I think this next round of anti-tracking features is to block the share buttons and all of that in iOS.
It goes back to that question people ask me all the time: is how did they know that I like white dogs, or whatever, right? How do they know that? And but they can look at tracking history and find that type of information.
Well, that's the thing. I think it was maybe 5 or 10 years ago, people were like, well, why are you running no scripts on your personal machine? I'm like, well, because I know it prevents loading all these other things from other sites. And no one was really hip to it. They were like, that's weird. It makes your site harder to use. It's a pain in the butt. Why don't you just load everything? And I think people were starting to understand the implications of loading everything, loading a Facebook like button every time you go to a site, loading a Google Analytics tag every time you go to another site.
Right.
These things all tie together and add up and create a picture, maybe not an accurate picture, but a picture of your behavior on the internet.
Right, and I think it kind of summarizes that free isn't really free, right?
Absolutely, yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and there's other things I think we're going to see, Apple improve on or make changes in. I mean, we know from a security perspective, they've already implemented the USB restricted mode, which, locks down the USB ports. I mean, we're going to see that type of thing more and more, and I think that there's a lot of other security features that we'll see come out with Apple iOS 12. So it's just kind of a waiting game right now to get our hands on that final product and get to play with it.
I would say the takeaway for the story is if you have the opportunity to take advantage of these new features, I would absolutely take it. We always try and push our users and our viewers to be as secure as they possibly can. And I would say that upgrading to these new password protection techniques is the right way to go.